Hey, it's good to see you today. Welcome to our Tuesday edition of our Journey Through Scripture. My name is Philip Thomas, pastor of Journey here in Elgin. Hope that you had a good weekend, and I hope that you've either gone and voted or planning on going and voting. Big day, election day, and so that's always a fun time. You get a fun little sticker and all kinds of stuff. So hope that your day is going well. We are looking into the book of Chronicles. Now, you may say, well, I thought we've read nearly everything from the book of Chronicles, and you would be correct, but we have not read the first 9 chapters of Chronicles. So today, I want you to kind of skim through. I know because it's mainly genealogies, the first 9 chapters of First Chronicles. The reason we're doing this, again, is because we're going chronologically. The Chronicles correlates or corresponds, if you will, with Kings, First and Second Kings. But First and Second Kings was written a lot earlier. Chronicles was written later. In fact, it was probably written around this time. Remember, we last Thursday we talked about how the temple is being rebuilt now and has been rebuilt. So the people have come back from exile, rebuilt the temple. Things are starting to get rebooted, if you will, and so the chroniclers were very much influenced by the Levites, the priests, the priestly line, and they were basically trying to get the people going again. And so one of the first things that they would have done is they would have written down all of these genealogies. Remember, the people have gone through a lot. You go all the way back to the time of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then you get to the kings, and then you have the splitting of the kingdoms, all kinds of things. And so what these genealogies, one of the things as you read through them, and again, I know you're just going to skim because trying to pronounce these words, it would take you forever, right? You'd use your hooked on phonics continuously trying to sound out these names. But the main emphasis that is being placed here is how, okay, these people have gone into exile, but now they have returned to the temple. And look, remember how the promises of God, we can trace that all the way back to Adam. How from Adam to Abraham to through Moses, through the kings, through King David, and now all the way up to this point. Even though we've gone into exile, now we are back, and God has been faithful, and the lineage is still there and is still strong. Most people think that these lineages were kind of written down with that purpose, kind of reorganizing, right, making sure where everybody is. And then the writer of Chronicles actually included those lineages and then made sure to add all of the previous lineages to kind of share with the people. This is your history. Look at how you were connected in the past and how you're, so that is what gives you your identity now and as we move forward now with this second temple. So as you start reading, you can see how it starts with Adam in chapter 1, and by the end of chapter 1, you have Abraham and then Isaac and Ishmael. Then it goes through the family of Ishmael, then the family of Isaac. You have Esau and Israel. Remember, Israel his original name was Jacob, but his name was changed to Israel, the one who struggles with God. That's what Israel means, is this struggle with God, wrestling with God. Remember when Jacob was wrestling with God. So you see that there. You have the next to the family of Seir and the kings of Edom are kind of on Esau's line. So you see them come. This was a common thing to have these lists of kings and genealogies in this time period. You see that with the Assyrian kings. They've found some ancient documents and things like that have the lineage of the kings, the line of kings. So we kind of see that here within this genealogy. Then chapter 2, the family of Israel. It goes through all of the 12 sons of Jacob, the 12 sons of Israel. Remember, there's 12 tribes. So it starts from Judah, because Judah is the line that David is going to come from, and ultimately that Jesus will come from. So you have the lineage there, then it just keeps going to the different sons. Then in chapter 3, you have the family of David. Actually, it hadn't even gone to the different sons. It's just the Judah there for the rest of chapter 2. Chapter 3 goes into the line of David. One thing that really jumped out to me after going through this, you look at how many children David had, and basically how many illegitimate they were from concubines and all kinds of stuff. This clearly was not what God desired. But remember, David is a faithful follower of God, but he was even able to be influenced by the cultural practices. Excuse me. He was influenced by the cultural practices of the day, of having multiple wives, of concubines, things like that. All of those children are listed in the genealogy. They are all important, but it does reveal how God works through this flawed group of people, and which is a good thing, because hopefully He can work through us, and we are certainly flawed groups of people. You continue on, you see the family of Solomon. Then chapter 4, the family of Judah. So now we're going to see the 12 brothers and their families. The chapter 4, verse 9 is one that you may recognize. There was a whole little book written on this called the Prayer of Jabez. Verse 9 of chapter 4 says, "Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mothers called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested." You know, you could get, I think it probably goes a little too far to write a whole book on these few lines, but there's definitely something that we can learn from them. I mean, that it is an important aspect, but we don't know much about this situation. What we do know is that this was a difficult childbirth and caused lots of pain. And many times, the names were given, and it was kind of a precursor of what was to come. And it kind of laid out in a sense, oh, well, this is probably the path that this person is going to take. And the name was very important. Well, Jabez, he didn't want to be associated with pain. That's not what he wanted. He wanted to overcome his beginning. He wanted to overcome what happened that was beyond his control. And so he prays. He says that you would bless me, right? So he's asking for God's blessing. There's nothing wrong with that. He's asking God to enlarge his territory, that he would be successful. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But he also asks that your hand would be with me. What does that mean? He's asking for God to guide him, for God to kind of show him the way that he should go. Which, by asking that, you're also reminding yourself that you have to then follow where God goes. So this isn't just saying, "Oh, bless me, God, give me what I want," but I really don't want to have anything in return. No, he's recognizing he wants to be blessed. He wants his territory enlarged, but he also wants to be able to follow God, and he's putting his trust in God, and that you would keep me from evil, that I might not cause pain. Right? So he's recognizing his flaw. He's recognizing that he can do evil, but he desires for God to keep him from evil and keep him from doing evil. So he's dedicating his life to the Lord, as well as asking the Lord to bless him. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. I don't think the main focus should be just the blessing, because so often we think of that from a materialistic point of view. The blessing that God does is not always material. It is, in fact, the greatest blessings of God are immaterial things. But the most important part is that of this, I believe, is that Jabez is asking God to guide him, to keep him from evil, so that he will be blessed and his territory can be enlarged. I also think, just kind of a side thought, is, you're never defined by your childhood, by what happened to you as a child. Is it part of who you are? Yes. But if you had a wonderful childhood, you have a responsibility to take advantage of that. If you had a horrible childhood, you can overcome that. You don't have to be defined by your childhood and those things that you have no control over. You continue on, you just see the different genealogies. Chapter 5, the family of Reuben. I thought this was a good reminder. It says, now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. He was indeed the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, so that his genealogy is not listed according to the birthright. So Reuben was actually the oldest son, but remember, he slept with one of his father's concubines. Not a good thing to do. Not a good thing to have a concubine, and then not a good thing to sleep with your father's concubine. It's interesting. One of the laws at that time that could have happened is that he could have been killed for doing that. He was shown mercy, but he paid a high price as he suffered in his birthright. You continue on, you see the family of Manasseh, that's Joseph's son. Chapter 6, you have the Levites. The Levites were the priestly, where the priest came from. So there's a little bit more of an emphasis on them because the priests are writing this. You see the family of Aaron there in verse 49 of chapter 6. The dwelling of the Levites, where they dwell, the places that they were given. Then you continue on, chapter 7, the families of the sons, family of Asher at the end of chapter 7. Then in chapter 8, you have the King Saul and the tribe of Benjamin. Chapter 9 then goes more in. It starts off, says, so all of Israel was recorded by genealogies, and indeed they were inscribed in the book of the kings of Israel. But Judah was carried away captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness. And the first inhabitants who dwelt in their possessions in their cities were Israelites, priests, Levites, and Nethinim. Now, again, that's kind of a remembrance of how everyone is coming back, to this place again, back reconstituting the people of Israel. One thing I forgot to mention that I thought was interesting, in chapter 5, the end of chapter 5, verse 25, talking about the tribe of Manasseh, who was east of the Jordan River, says, and they were unfaithful to the God of their fathers and played the harlot after the gods of the people of the land, whom God had destroyed before them. So the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, that is Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. He carried the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh into captivity. He took them to Halal, Habar, Hara, and the river of Gozan to this day. Now, what's interesting to that is it says the Pul, the king of Assyria. Now, people question that because there was no Pul, king of Assyria. So there was some historical debate here. Well, interesting, and through archaeology, they found some pottery or some things like that actually revealed that Pul was a nickname for the king of Assyria, the Tigris guy. That was a nickname for him. So it's just interesting. This kind of shows the historical accuracy of the Bible. It was based on real events. These things really did happen. So as we get into chapter 9, you can read through that. Again, it kind of focuses on the priest and the Levites, things that we have talked about before, the different roles that they played, the gatekeepers, that they had a very important role as the new temple was now being restored. All right, so for Thursday, encourage you to read. We'll be in the book of Esther. So let's read Esther. We should be able to get through all of Esther. Well, let's try to do it. Let's try to get through all of Esther. So read the book of Esther for next Thursday. All right. Hope that you have a good week, and we'll see you on Thursday. See you then.